Well, it goes with the Yiddish kind of
Yeah.
I think the other thing I imagine, I mean, the closest I've ever come to this is spending time at Jewish summer camps. But the idea that your entire life is Jewish. Everything you do is touched by the fact you're Jewish. All the way you eat, the way you keep house, how you dress. By day, and thou'lt be a rabbi when I have grown gray. My Yankala shall study the law shall baby learn. Great books shall my Yankala write, much money shall he earn.
One thing that we brought up here is
That all pervasive sort of Jewish life. Yeah, I mean, that everything you did.
All very upset.
That's a good question.
Except for the
My father was particularly
I think there was
observant at
a
all.
lot more social pressure.
There was,
At least,
that's right.
you know, their idea of unobservant, as I said, a goy. You know, I mean that was the standard of. So they would have people they would consider unobservant, but by our standards, they would be among our more observant.
Among you know, but then there was much more pressure to conform with it.
I mean, like, for example, would shopkeepers be open on Shabbat?
Airing. And I had a couple thoughts. And one is, I actually want to give the last thought to Muriel Ginsburg, who sent us this book 3 days ago. And so she just wanted to wish us a Happy Hanukkah, but I will tell her she's part of the program, so I'll give her the final word. But I have some thoughts, and as I was thinking about this, that each generation changes from the previous generation. And we certainly are in that situation ourselves. And I was listening to somebody talk on CBC Ideas, and he's saying that every time you make a change, you lose something. And he was talking about electric lights. So when you put electric lights into the cities, you lose something. You lose the ability to see the stars at night. And I think that's the kind of thing that we're talking about in a different way. And probably the most famous Canadian philosopher is George Grant, and died just a year ago. And he actually, at the end of his writings, he was a very avid writer about technology and change in the world, among many other items that he talked about ethics. He actually wondered whether the Industrial Revolution and all the things that came with the Industrial Revolution were actually a positive force in that change. That and maybe the fellows back in the shtetl had some ideas, because one of the things they were resolutely against was the introduction of science. The science wasn't a Talmud, they didn't want to hear about it.
You can have an atomic bomb.
I can't agree with that at all. I can understand that if this was the most perfect world, then you lose something if you change something. I can't see it otherwise. I think progress goes on.
But is it progress? That's the issue.
Well, surely you lose
Somewhere.
something and you gain something.
Pardon?
It's
Yeah.
not.
You may not see it immediately. It may take 50 years, 40 years, whatever. But I think it's wrong to say that you lose something every time.
Well, you do. Let me give you an example.
You gain, I think there are great things science has brought us, longer life, if that's good, and so on. But the environment has been ruined to a much greater extent by the Industrial Revolution than anything that came before. So, you get good and bad. There's one answer to the question, if I can not take your words out of your mouth. I hope this wasn't your conclusion.
No, I'm going to leave that for
well, no, okay, I won't take. I'm sure it's not in there.
It's not here.
Talking about this. The question being, was Jewish life better in the shtetl?
Oh, wait, let's be certain.
And my feeling is that probably the answer is that Jewish life was not better in the shtetl, but Jewish life was. Nobody would want to trade their lives for what life was like then as a general way of surviving. So from that sort of general point of view, no, but from the positives on that side of the board, well, we didn't put any negatives down, because we know what the problems were. Well, fortunately we don't personally, most of us. But the Jewish part was the good part, and that the life itself was the pits. That's sort of like the Industrial Revolution brought good and bad, and that's sort of the way I see it.
Well, Wally, I would rather be a Jew in London, Ontario in 1995.
Okay.
But I'm just wondering.
That's right.
I'm just wondering in this age of sexually transmitted diseases, how long it's going to take us to reinstitute young betrothals.
But maybe with a little more freedom, or choice. Okay, the last word goes to Muriel Ginsburg in the book, Hooray for Yiddish, and it's under the definition of shtetl. And he quotes, shtetl rhymes with kegel, shtetl, I guess. Shtetl rhymes with kettle, or fatal, German, Stadtlein, a little town. The Städtchen were the poor villages of Eastern Europe, where before World War II, the remarkable culture of the Ashkenazim blossomed. Morris Samuel commented upon the ambivalence of American Jewry towards the shtetl. This is what I want to read. I'm going to try to read this. On the one hand, the shtetl is remembered sentimentally. It sends up a nostalgic glow for those who have received the tradition from parents and grandparents. It is pictured as one of the rare and happy breathing spells of the exile, the nearest thing to a home from home that the Jews have ever known. On the other hand, it is recalled with grimace of distaste the Städtlach, those forlorn little settlements in the vast and hostile wilderness, isolated alike from Jewish and non-Jewish centers of civilization, their tenure precarious, their structure ramshackle, their spirit squalid. Who would want to live